Hi everyone, welcome to the third episode of SDI's Desktop Discourse. Today we're going to be talking about making, framing, and accessing art.
Beautiful. We thought we would introduce ourselves to start. My name is Matthew. Maddie or Matt is also okay. My pronouns are they and them. And the art I do a lot is a lot of spoken word.
My name is Melly. Pronouns are she and hers. And the art that I do is a lot of music and songwriting.
Hi, I'm Mikey. My pronouns are they, them. And the art that I do the most is music, but I've also been working with jewelry making.
My name is Gabriel. You can call me Gabe. He, him pronouns. And my art is making music.
Awesome. So I'm thrilled to talk through this because this has been on my mind a lot. I think to kind of set the scene for us, I've been thinking a lot about art right now, how we like we said, how we make it, how we frame it, and access it. In the middle of all of this, I've been thinking a lot about how a lot of people, I would say kind of people who are more distant from actively consuming art, right? People who don't frequent galleries or people who aren't kind of in creative spaces as much are having this kind of reimagining of what art is. So as they're on Netflix at home, as they're on YouTube, as they're seeing all of these galleries having online visits and walkthroughs and all this, they're like, wow, art fills our world. Like how I navigate and meaning make a lot of what's going on is often heavily by art and artists. And I've been also thinking on the side of it, a lot of the spaces that we use, that we have to access art, right? When we think of museums, galleries, art openings, theaters, really beautiful shops to purchase art in and experience it, we can't go to those right now. We are at home, we are in our living room, and right now we're in a very cloudy living room. So a lot of that has been translated online. So as people are kind of having different ways to consume it and access it, there's this new type of folks who can access it. For folks who either those spaces didn't let them come in, whether it be the physical door you couldn't be in. It's not, the access wasn't as good as it could be. The price kept them out. There's different ways that people can access it right now. So kind of that's been reshaped and rethought of. So I'm hoping we can talk about a little bit about how you've experienced that shift, but also what we want that shift to look like kind of as this goes further and as we continue to exist for the months to come.
Thank you for that wonderful intro. So the first question we kind of have, just to get us started, is how are you consuming and making art differently during this time?
I can go first. For me, I've been consuming a lot more like forms of art, like whether it be music, poems I read, or articles online, pictures I see people posting. And I feel as if this made this pandemic actually kind of like, in a sense, helped a lot of artists get grow in an audience. Because right now everyone's at home and their main source of entertainment is actually just like being online. Because like you could be on your phone, you could be on your computer, you could be like playing games, on your TV. A lot of times people are outside and it's kind of hard to how would I explain this? Kind of like you have no time to do stuff because nowadays everyone's always rushing around doing things. They're going to work. They're always thinking about what they're gonna do for work tomorrow. So this kind of, in a sense, gave a new relief, in my opinion, a stress relief, but a different kind. although people are like applying for unemployment and everything like that, but I still feel as if like this gave people more free time just to think, especially it applies for me as an artist, where right now it gave me a lot more time where I could actually make more music, like produce music. I just recently released the EP because of this. I had so much time to do everything. I even had more time to actually learn stuff that I didn't know online. And I also kind of remember, Matt, I saw on Instagram, you actually fixed your light bulb with YouTube. So like, we're all learning new things from this. And I think if we can take this out in a positive way, I feel as if it's more so like enhancing everyone's creativity in a sense.
I definitely started making art just more like naturally. I created a cover, a music cover of From Eden by Hosier about a couple weeks ago, I believe. But before that, I hadn't made any music and like fully recorded it and realized it in a really long time. I have been primarily like writing out my songs and kind of like playing around with how they sound when I play them by myself, but I was never really recording any of it. So this has kind of pushed me towards the next stage of like creation and like producing art to like put out and give to people. And that's partially because like a lot of the music that I was doing before, I was just performing live. So I'm trying to find new ways that I can like reach an audience and still have it feel like really personal and homey. And honestly, very similar case with the jewelry as well, because I have been making I've been making a lot of necklaces as gifts for my friends lately. So I'm not really seeking out like profit from that one, but I am trying to just exercise my creativity while I have the opportunity.
Thank you both. And also just my gratitude for both of you. Your music is so good, both of you, and just brings me so much joy. So everyone go check them out immediately. I think you both touched on really big things with that. Gabe, when you named that like our audiences could be growing right now because people have more time. I'll name this isn't like the free time I think we as people were looking for. My wish for everybody is to have a more organic flow within their lives where they can kind of have the time that they need to exist in a full, healthy life. This being a pandemic is not it, but as part of our coping, I'm really glad to hear. I think a lot of people are finding it, that they're like, I can find that stillness and joy in the time I do have, recognizing that this is not the time that we deserve, right? Like we deserve that more unobstructed time, but I'm grateful that people are finding that. Mikey, I think you also touched with that I want to talk about too, that I loved, is that I think for a lot of people, and I'm hoping it's kind of like a growth of how they view art right now, but I think we can often think about art as like these placed things, like in a gallery, in a theater. Like I'm gonna go consume art now. It's on my schedule from 5 to 7, I am art. Rather than seeing it as this really powerful meaning-making tool and meaning-making of our world. And I've seen that a lot too, is that people are turning to their crafts and their art to process a literal pandemic. Whether it be making gifts for friends, whether it be making new songs in response, or just finding like more grounding. I've seen that in both ways. That leads me to ask for both of you, as you're thinking about a potential new meaning and depth in your art, thinking about audiences growing. What resources do you want to have in our world to be able to make your own art? Mikey, can I start with you?
Yeah. What resources? Well, actually, I'm very lucky because I have been. I took some wire that I've been using to make necklaces from the Columbia Makerspace. So I'm slowly running out. And I have a feeling that Michael's Crafts may not be open. So in terms of materials, I am a little bit fearful at the moment, worrying that like I'm kind of gonna run out of materials that I already have, and then like during pandemic at least, it's gonna be hard to access more, and so I'll just move to other modes, I guess. But I think that the biggest like roadblock, I guess, that I see right now is my materials, because I'm gonna run out and I don't know where to get more. But I think that it's just gonna lead me towards other creative solutions. Hopefully, I will like find some other cool way to make jewelry that just requires different materials, or like maybe something that I can like DIY a little bit. I don't know. Am I making a rock necklace out of a clothing hanger and some string? Maybe, but maybe someone will enjoy that.
Honestly, like what Mikey's saying is very like valid. How we don't know where we can go for materials. Right now, I'm pretty sure everything's like turned to like online for recreational things. Like only groceries are open outside, so it's very hard for us to get these materials. And I believe some like smaller business like stores that they have like online websites for, they're having like 10% off sale or 20% off sale, or like or stuff like free delivery, you know, like no need to pay for shipping, you know. But I still believe like it would have been better if maybe the government or maybe like colleges around, like local colleges, like for us like in Chicago, maybe Columbia could like do a special event where they can like give access to people about like some of the courses that they're teaching, you know, like because I know in Berklee College of Music, which I've taken like their online course before, is completely free. Like you have the whole, you're able to get a certificate off of it, but that's if you have to pay. But in the most time, you can actually see the whole course for free. It's only if you want that paper, then you pay like $30-$40 for it. And it'd be interesting if Columbia or like DePaul or any other like colleges around would give that kind of resource, just because it's in this pandemic. It could also like benefit both parties, where like Columbia could actually gain more audience, like more people like looking at what they teach in school here, and as well as like provide people who don't have access to all these things that like current students have, give that like kind of support. For me, like, because I mainly deal with music on like a digital audio workstation is what we call it, where we do all the cool stuff. Like that right now, a lot of them are like on free trial for people to like use, and commonly it's like you can use it for a free few weeks, and a lot of times people can learn through that, although they do cost a lot. But during the pandemic, I believe they made it like completely free to use. So that's what I have for that.
I love that. I think I struggle with like what we just named, and what I think a lot of folks will name is that like art is so necessary to meaning making of the world and healing. But also, Mikey, you just said you're like, I'm running out of supplies. I'm running out of this, albeit that stuff costs money. And you're still doing it just to heal your friends and yourself and offering it to folks who may not be able to pay a large amount for that. Like, what would the world look like if there were artist stipends for students to continue to create in this huge time where we want art to come out? Gabe, like you said, what if those classes were covered? What if you were paid for your art without having to be tied to sales? If it could actually be this more free, fluid, meaning-making piece rather than always linked to like, oh, I love this, but now I'm out of supplies. And also, is it supplies or food? Who knows? Yeah, so thank you for both of that.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about what you kind of talked about, Gabe, about that like accessibility piece, you know, how a lot of like, it's great that like a place like Berkeley is offering those classes online and for free. But a lot of other places are not really there. And I feel like have given different explanations as to why. But when it comes down to it, like now in this moment of like pressure and tension, we're seeing these classes be made available online. And we're seeing like, maybe not to the extent that is like absolutely like 100% what we need to make art. But there's still some kind of effort being made, whereas before there was nothing. Something that kind of stuck out to me too, the ceramic studio that I'm a part of, they started offering like ceramics courses online, and you drive by the studio and pick up like a bag of clay, and then just take it back and do it in your home, and then drop off your finished pieces for them to be fired. And I'm like, wow, like I never would have like that's something that's amazing, especially for people who are maybe like you know, for whatever reason have to be in their homes. But I think before a time like this, it would have been seen as something like as an extra effort, you know, that would have to be done, and not something necessarily that should already be embedded to make these activities just more inclusive to everyone across the board. And kind of like how you were saying, Matt, too, earlier about like things being not being accessible because of class or, you know, financial situations. Again, now I feel like we're seeing museums and galleries open up. We're seeing theaters broadcast their shows online. And all of these things that are making it more easy to access different types of art, especially when we're not able to access, you know, all these like the traditional materials that we would in an abundance that we would. So kind of thinking about that as consumers and creators of art, what do you all feel that we're going to be asking of institutions and art spaces going forward, especially with everything that has happened before and all the changes that are happening?
So for at least what I think, what institutions could do is like they already a lot of institutions are like creating like grants. Like Columbia just recently sent the emails about being able to get grants just for like financial relief on paying their like school fees. But what I think they could do for continuing students or like already existing students is that like they could provide either like paid accounts like they did with like with our Zoom accounts and everything, or at least cover like a good portion of it. Because I feel a lot of times we're probably gonna be online for at least maybe till fall. I'm not sure, but if that's the case, a lot of times it's accessibility, as we like already like discussed earlier. If like the schools are very like reluctant in giving us money, might as well like they find a way to get it cheaper and get it to us, or like they give us an account that they already have that allows us to use it. Because I understand like in institutions a lot of times the programs that they use are either like shared with the same account or they just re-downloaded it on the same like on different computers. Because I believe that's what it is for like most of our like music labs that we have, like the stuff we have. Like I know for one of my classes, I'm pretty sure Mikey as well knows, our foundations class, for music, we're like made to use GarageBand, which is commonly free on like Apple devices, like iPads and everything. And like if they could like provide that other resource, like teaching how people how to use like these free applications like Audacity and everything else like that to create music or like do their own art. Maybe if it's, let's say, like arts and craft where people are making like necklaces, they're doing like paintings and stuff like that. Maybe if they provided a relief, kind of like, again, we have Columbia Care where I also know that they give out like food, like pantry, like, you know, for like free for people who needs it. Also, like us, we provide clothes for people who wants like these clothes that they feel like makes them feel empowered, given clothes that they just look at and they're like, oh, that's cool, you know? Like, although we can't go in person, but I believe they could find ways where they could send us these packages, or they could have us pick up from a certain location at a certain time, just so that like it could minimize traffic with different people, and also make it as like safe for everyone.
I think in terms of asking things of institutions, the bar has been set from the experience that we are currently undergoing. So if any institution goes to like essentially rescind that, it's gonna be a bit of a tug of war. At least I hope. I think that people deserve to fight to keep like the things that we've gotten from this event, this giant global event. Because you know we have experienced like this really awful time that like basically has put all of us in danger, to varying degrees by the person, but I don't know. I think we've been through a lot at this point. We kind of have earned or I guess it doesn't really matter whether we earn it or not, because it's art, and art should be available for everyone, actually. So I think that it's really important that a lot of the online resources or the adjusted services, like what Melly was talking about with the ceramic studio, like I think it's so important that we keep those up, because there are people that like can't leave their house outside of a pandemic. So we should also be paying attention to them as part of our audience, because they are part of our audience.
Absolutely. It's almost as though the fight for access isn't siloed to just this. And as we have this lens of how do we broaden access to folks who can't, that needs to always be there. It needs to always stay there. And as you all being very much in the field of art, I have a lot of hope that it will be, because of, dare I say, badasses like you. Well, thank you all.
A very PBS vibe from that. Badasses like you. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for talking through this. You all have done a lot for our school and our field as a whole. And I appreciate you taking the time today to talk through it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
See you next time.